Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and decided to use Stakataka. I have no idea where this guide is going because personally, I am incredibly disappointed in the Pokemon. It's an attacker? No. It's supposed to have like 70 on the hit points, 200s in both defenses, and just be like this impenetrable wall. But instead, when we got the stats, it's not what we expected. Still one of the slowest Pokemon out there. Still a decent, actually that's beyond decent. That's a good amount of attack, and then it can be pretty tanky. But what kills Stakataka is the typing. We have a Rock Steel type, which means 4 times weakness to fighting, 4 times weakness to ground, 2 times weakness to water. Even though it has these stats, you know, the 4X makes it a little frail, especially on some of the most common moves in the game, and then a strong water attacker comes through, that's mostly going to be special attacks, so Hydro Pump, and doesn't matter how tanky you are. You might have a 201 stat, but it doesn't matter when you get hit by the right move, so that makes it kind of unfortunate. But then the tricks and shenanigans of Stakataka just go even further because it learns Trick Room. It doesn't need a Trick Room setter next to it to make use of that 13. It can be a bulky Trick Room setter. Has high amounts of attacks. Are we using as an attacker? Like, that seems like it makes sense. And then when you break it down, it doesn't really have a lot of extra utility. You know, it can't really Toxic Stall because it doesn't have a way of boosting its special defense. It doesn't have a way of sustaining itself. Like, where's the Pain Split? This thing definitely needed Pain Split. Could have maybe gone for the Calm Mind. I don't know. Does get Iron Defense. But overall, it's kind of all over the place. And that's really the breakdown right there. Now, one comparison is that it's effectively just a tankier Bastiodon. We're going to look at that when we get into Pokemon Showdown. But another thing is that it can also get access to the Wide Guard. Now, this is a really good time to bring up that Wide Guard received a buff in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, if you use Wide Guard, it actually has the Protect effect against Z moves. So Z moves do less damage when Wide Guard is used, and it's looking to be that reduction down to 25% damage. So Wide Guard support got a lot more powerful in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Wow, that's pretty lame. Apparently when I was recording, XSplit shifted over the screen region, so instead of looking like this, the video looks like this. It's not the worst thing, because you can still figure out like everything that's being said, and you can still see the competitive moveset and stuff. It just looks kind of bad because we don't have the full Pokemon right here, and also it is 131 on the attack, 211 on defense, 101 on special defense. So that's what it should look like, and I'm not re-recording 35 minutes of footage just because the screen region doesn't look nice. So hopefully you guys are okay with that. What did we say about Stakataka? Well, it actually looks to be best as just a Trick Room attacker, and this is kind of cheesy, so I should be all over it, but I think my feelings were hurt because you look at it, it's a wall, it shouldn't be doing damage. This should have been like just the best, highest defense, rewriting Shuckle kind of Pokemon, but it turned out not to be. Like, it doesn't need a 53 special attack there, you know, you could have made it less, but I guess Game Freak was really careful on the balance right here, especially because it just has so much more damage than the Bastiodon as well. Bastiodon, it's comparable that we have roughly the same hit points, actually more special defense, less on defense, but I mean, when you start scaling those numbers, it doesn't even matter. Like, okay, we're compared like 435 to like 550 or something. The damage really isn't going to change too much. Bastiodon can survive some Earthquake and doubles, Stakataka survives an Earthquake and doubles, and that's kind of it. But the attack is really what changes this. So even though it's a similar-ish moveset, mostly like Wide Guard and then going into like offensive attacks in some situations, when we look at the Stakataka, it definitely changes the script quite a bit. So let's go and see what we can do for Stakataka in doubles, because when you have a bulky Pokemon like this that can Trick Room and maybe even be supportive, doubles seems like the way to go. So Trick Room, Wide Guard, Gyro Ball, Earthquake. The Gyro Ball does insane amounts of damage because this is one of the slowest Pokemon ever introduced, and you can kind of take it to the bank. Now, I just had the Adamant Nature here just to like kind of see what the Gyro Ball could look like damage-wise, but overall what you want to do is drop the Speed Nature if you have the opportunity to. So Relax will be for defense, and then Brave will be for the attack. I don't know what to say. Again, like, you look at this, like, how are we going to figure out an item on this Pokemon? Citrus Berry, but when we look at the damage calculations, you're pretty much getting two-shot by everything if you are running the offensive set. But I mean, in doubles, it just makes you a threat. You know, you have enough to survive one hit or two weak-ish kind of hits. That's why we do want the Citrus Berry. Maybe, like, if we're just getting pummeled by offensive Pokemon the entire time, then the Citrus Berry really isn't going to matter too much for us. But if we do, like, get into those nice little survival ranges, this guarantees the Trick Room even in a ridiculous double focus. And then we could either Wide Guard if we feel a lot of threat, or we just wreck them with a quick Gyro Ball, maybe some Earthquake. Now, because we have Wide Guard, we can also have an Earthquake Pokemon next to us that Stakataka doesn't want to be eating any kind of Earthquake, but Wide Guard does protect you from an allied use move, so you can use Surf, Earthquake, anything that would hit all Pokemon. Maybe, actually, that's also another combo for like the Blacephalon, that Mind Blown actually hits everything, so Wide Guard keeps you safe while letting Blacephalon do his thing, and then it could just nullify multi-hitting moves, because there's a lot of those. You see a lot of Surf, Earthquake, Rock Slide, so it is something to be aware of as well as a Stakataka. That if you're going up against something that could potentially have the Wide Guard, you might not want to use the Earthquake or the Rock Slide, but Gyro Ball is still, like, insane in a lot of cases, so that's kind of the breakdown. Like, do you want to be bulky attacker? Do you want to like kind of cut that down a bit? Because like what you could do is just move the defensive nature around and still be pretty good. So Sassy is going to give you a plus special defense and then minus on the speed, and then we still have lots of damage. The reason why this looks so weird is because when you start running damage calculations, like, oh, I'm slightly missing damage for this crucial KO. Oh, I'm slightly not tanky enough now because now I just get wrecked because I'm trying to be an offensive defensive wall Pokemon. It's kind of hard. However, transition this over to single battles or also just like trying to be a dedicated offensive attacker, things get really weird with the Stakataka because it has Beast Boost. Now with this set, your highest stat is defense. You want to be tanky, but you also want to do damage with that Gyro Ball, and then Beast Boost activates, and then we drop it because it's just, oh, defense. I'm gaining defense, which can be useful, but it's not what you're expecting out of the Pokemon, and then Earthquake is still going to suck to have to deal with, or even a close combat, or anything like that. So, what we've been looking into is that you run 14 IVs on a hindering defensive nature. I mean, that's still tanky. That is still tanky when you have 396 on the defense like that, and then 326 on the hit points. And now what this does is it pushes you into a range where actually beast boosting the attack. And it's not hard. Like, 131 attack on one of the most reliable Gyro Ball Pokemon in the game means you're going to find KOs against a lot of just neutral hits, average sweeping frail Pokemon, or even finding multiple like just 2-hit KOs against tank Pokemon. Like if a tank Pokemon is trying to hit your Stakataka, they are going to be very unsuccessful, and then you're going to be able to just get Beast Boost after hitting them twice or so, and that's pretty much going to be the breakdown right there. So Air Balloon, Trick Room, like you lead the Air Balloon Stakataka, and they want to use Earthquake, they can't. So they have to hit you with something that isn't going to kill you. Like at this point, still, water type moves are going to be potentially KO and very devastating. Also, same for fighting type moves. But if you get the correct lead in there, you just Trick Room. Sure, they hit you for that Trick Room and you lose your Air Balloon, but now it doesn't matter because you get that KO and then you just keep KOing, and then your Beast Boost is going to stack, and then your damage goes off the charts while still being fairly tanky. Like, it's weird how well Stakataka does against seemingly everything, but also how you're just scared the entire time. That's like, well, that's a super effective hit, and I'm done. Also, Trick Room only gives you a certain amount of turns of usability. Now, it still is a lot. You know, Trick Room lasts for 5 turns, so you set it, and then you get to keep KOing things until it wears off, and then they can finally have a chance to revenge against you, because Stakataka is going to become the fastest thing on the field until it's done. I guess you could have some really weird stuff happen, like if someone's running a Vacuum Wave. While most priority isn't going to be super effective against Stakataka, there's a few. You know, Greninja can just respond with the Water Shuriken. Water Shuriken doesn't have the highest chance of KOing, but if the opponent rolls into that RNG, could go pretty well for them. And overall, I guess you can chip Stakataka, or maybe just like tank it with some of the most filthy defensive tanking. But if it gets rolling, bad things are going to happen. So let's go and keep breaking this one down. I guess like Rotom, you know, Rotom Wash seems like a pretty solid Pokemon against it, because it's going to get that outspeed on Trick Room turn, Threaten Water, Hydro Pump lands, and that's could be KO potential anyways. Even if Rotom comes down as a response, we got the Levitate. We're also like electric type Pokemon, and the Rock Slide, while solid, you know, if you don't have the Beast Boost going for you, it's not going to be devastating, because we're pretty much coasting on like the max damage Gyro Ball for trying to secure those early KOs. Another thing you can do is run Weakness Policy. Weakness Policy Stakataka, that's like something you can run here. So instead of the Citrus Berry, you just run the high defense, you know, investment stuff. So yeah, go maybe defensive nature in this case. So what we do is we run max special defense into the relaxed nature. So let's go find that right there. And now we have all that extra tankiness that the Citrus Berry would have effectively given us. However, we expect to take super effective hits at some point. We can survive them like this, like by putting that defensive nature in there. That gives us good chances to survive against Earthquake and doubles because split damage. And then Weakness Policy activates, and now we're doubling our attack instead. so the damage gets pretty nuts, and we don't have to worry about Beast Boost or any shenanigans like that, and we can feel safe that we're still running as a tanky Pokemon. So that's the weakness policy kind of setup that you'd want to go for. Now it's on to the damage calculations. Now in this case, all bets are off, because things get weird. So as we have it right here, I'm just showing like a defensive nature, impish, relaxed, whatever boost defense, something like that, and then max hit points, max special defense. Well, Greninja Hydro Pump KOs us, but Scald does not. So again, showing those weird ranges, there's a Greninja in doubles. It's thinking, hey, I can take this thing out, so it throws the Scald your way because it doesn't want to gamble on the Hydro Pump. The other Pokemon like fakes out your other Pokemon or something. You still get that Trick Room, and if you're running Weakness Policy, you get it, and now it doesn't matter. You have the Stakataka under Trick Room, you have your allied Pokemon under Trick Room, and you're able to do stupid amounts of damage while doubling your attack. As you can see right here, if Greninja wasn't resisting on that Gyro Ball, it's just a KO with 0 attack. No attack investment right there. No attack investment, and let's just get rid of this water typing, and that's pretty much a KO on just that. That's what the natural 131 in Gyro Ball does. Like, the base stats start getting ridiculous on this Pokemon. Looking at Tapu Koko. So Tapu Koko on an Adamant, Brave, whatever you want to run, whatever you want to call it. If we have max attack on this one, we're just hitting that Gyro Ball for an easy KO on the Tapu Koko. We could maybe even find some wiggle room for the Relax. So we run Relaxed, and yeah, Gyro Ball still KOing just because of that insane speed difference and overall damage that the Gyro Ball packs against a 70 hit point, 85 defense Pokemon. As we can see right here, no special defense investment, and we survive the Thunderbolt. So this is why I find the Citrus Berry awkward. That if you're getting hit with something that's as strong as a Tapu Koko twice, well, Thunderbolt, that's 140 minimum damage instead of 125% that we need to see for Citrus Berry to work. But if we do have special defense investment, we can survive multiple hits with the Citrus Berry. So that's where things gotta get awesome, or not awesome, that's where things gotta get interesting. It's pretty much like how you want to run it. And everything is telling me, dude, it's a tanky Pokemon that gets a high damage Gyro Ball into Trick Room. Just run it like that. I'm like, no, it has to have potential. It could still be a tank Pokemon somewhere. That's why I guess you're just splashing the Wide Guard. You make it feel like a support if it really needs to be a support. But until then, just run the damage. And then lastly, we have the Earthquake. So Earthquake also messes with us at the same time. Say we are going to be running a special defense hit points or attack hit points, whatever. I know you can't have this many EVs on Pokemon, just kind of showing you guys the breakdown of, I'm trying to show both movesets in the same page, that way I don't have to have 2 separate pages for the same thing. It's still weird. So if we're running our Adamant or Relaxed or whatever, we just die to Earthquake from a Garchomp. Life Orb Garchomp gives us a very hard time, and even if we like go over to the Relaxed nature, so now let's say we have a defensive nature instead, it's still questionable. So this is where it's like, yeah, it kind of doesn't really matter what happens. So Garchomp, anything that's going to be a ground type Pokemon threatening the Earthquake, that's going to suck. A couple Pokemon got high horsepower in Pokemon Ultra Moon, and now Stomping Tantrum. If Stomping Tantrum gains a lot of momentum as a tutor move, that's going to suck even more for the Stakataka, because Earthquake gets cut down by 25%, so it becomes 75% or 75 base power. Well, that means a Stomping Tantrum is going to be the exact same, and it's worth running that into the Stakataka. That you can just go Stomping Tantrum on Stakataka, even if you didn't fail the move previously, and it's going to be the same damage as the Earthquake. So if people are taking Stomping Tantrum, they can actually get around your Wide Guard, and then they can still do lots of damage that is potentially KOing. Now, this is the most extreme example, because we have Stab, Life Orb, 130 attack, Garchomp. Most likely, you are going to be seeing a Scarf Garchomp, which isn't going to change the damage at all. And in those cases, we do survive the Stomping Tantrum, the Earthquake, even without the Relax. So you do have to take just a little bit of a gamble there. Also, depending on what else your team is up to, you can maybe just run Intimidate. Switch an Intimidate Pokemon, and then you know you're surviving that Earthquake. But I also have to worry about what the opponent's doing, because if they are realizing, hey, Stakataka might be defensive invested, they might survive this, then anything is going to finish off the Stakataka at that range. Just a nice little neutral hit, and Stakataka is just gonna go down off of it. So getting Stakataka set up in singles or doubles is going to be tricky. Like if we just transition this over to singles, it doesn't matter what we do. So that's why we need the Air Balloon, just in case they're leading into those weird ground things that we need to be aware of. But if we can actually get set up, the Trick Room is successful, because now Stakataka is in a weird position where it is the Trick Room Pokemon. and it also becomes the attacking Pokemon. Normally, we're using, like, Oranguru. Oranguru is going to be the very reliable Trick Room setup, and then it's going to make another Pokemon, let's just say Wishy-Washy, you know? You get that super beast mode Wishy-Washy in there, insane amounts of damage, insane amount of bulk, and then it gets instructed, and then you just kind of go and just clean everything out from there. That's something possible. But now with Stakataka, it does both. So what do? Do you run a Trick Room Pokemon next to it? Do you support the Stakataka? The tank that should be a support is being supported by something else. Is that possible? Do you just run it next to an Oranguru anyways? Oranguru is the surprise Trick Room Pokemon, and then you instruct the Rock Slide, the Gyro Ball, and just destroy everything. That's a possibility. If you're doing that, then I recommend the singles build, because you're trying to stay as untouchable as possible. And by doing so, it's like, yeah, now you get the Gyro Ball, KO, Beast Boost, Instruct, KO. It does some crazy stuff like that. The Rock Slide, that gives 60% chance to flinch while also going into some solid damage numbers. And Earthquake is just coverage, like I said. Telepathy Oranguru, yeah, it could work, and then you just hit pretty well. So yeah, that's Stakataka, guys. Not the ridiculous tank that we expected, but actually when you get into the numbers, it's like, oh, yeah, it's a ridiculous Trick Room attacker that works in singles or doubles. Has so much risk, though. It's this incredibly high risk, incredibly high reward Pokemon, and I guess you just gotta play when you bring it in. You know, if you use it as a really good revenge Pokemon. One of your Pokemon faints, doesn't matter. If you're not getting hit by super effective moves, you bring it in. What do? They have to switch out. Well, that's Trick Room. Well, now you have all the advantage in the world, and that's gonna be GG. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.